Okay, so we are live. Sorry for the delay and due to a technical error. So you may switch your cameras on and we can begin. So we are live on YouTube. For those joining us, feel free to tag us. Okay, so we are live. Sorry for the delay and due to a technical error. So you may switch your cameras on and we can begin. Okay. So we are live on YouTube. For those joining us, feel free to tag us. Okay, so we are live. Sorry for the delay and due to a technical error. So you may switch your cameras on and we can begin. Okay. Were you hearing the echo?
Yes, loudly.
Okay. Sorry for that. YouTube is usually slightly behind, but yes, it's been sorted by the technical team. Great. So thank you to everyone who has joined us today for this dialogue. The theme is youth and SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. And today we have amazing panelists from Kaya, Fuzu, National Youth Council, and House of Procurement. So I'll just let them introduce themselves and then we'll dive into the panel discussion. My name is Mercy Mutana, Youth Director at Sub-Saharan International Model United Nations. We are a simulation here in Nairobi for Sub-Saharan Africa delegates that come from Sub-Saharan countries here in Africa and even international delegates, where we simulate general assemblies of the United Nations, whereby youths come together, prepare on different topics, the different global solutions they want to solve, write resolutions, debate them, and actually practice diplomacy, whereby as an ambassador or delegation, you lobby and do the whole process of writing resolutions, coming up with research, presenting your resolution, lobbying other delegates to vote for you. And at every session of the assembly, each selected resolution is debated, amendments may be made, some laid on table, and the best usually do get a majority vote, and those ones do pass for implementation. So first up, we have Ms. Juliet Owino, Ms. Mudhoni Madenge, Mr. Ladu John, and Mr. Bernard Odete. So Ms. Juliet, you could start us with the introduction.
Good morning once again, and thank you for having me here, Mercy, right? Yes, my name is Juliet Owino. I am the head of research and policy at the National Youth Council. National Youth Council is a state agency under the State Department for Youth, which is under the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. It came into being from the National Youth Council Act of 2009, which has since been revised in 2014 as the official voice of the youth. So in being the voice of the youth, we work with like-minded individuals and organizations. This is in the private sector, government agencies, just so that the youth voice is heard. Youth voice is heard when they're empowered, when they're included. And this is what we lobby for. And in lobbying and working with these organizations, we conduct research in the areas of youth matters, because we believe that research is what is going to enable us plan even for the future. Research is, when you have evidence, then we can plan better. So we thrive on research, and this is what we use to inform our programs at the National Youth Council, and as well in inform government policy. We also advocate. This is where we support and recommend youth initiatives, and we work with the different organizations doing youth work, because we realize that we cannot do this on our own. We also register and coordinate youth affairs and activities. And recently we've been able to come up with the code of conduct for youth workers and regulations which should be guiding the youth space. These ones, once ready, of course, we'll be able to share, and all of us can be able to give their opinion on it. So in a nutshell, that is National Youth Council. We thrive in working with partners as well, because we know we cannot do this on our own. And so I even look forward to partnering with all of us after this, just so that we can be able to empower the youth and include them. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Definitely today we do have youth organizations present. We have one on call who says he's from Samburu County. So maybe if you do ever visit, you'll definitely be able to touch base. We do have Council of African Youth Advocates present. FUZU, that is an amazing recruitment firm that is great on youth professional development, and House of Procurement present. So Mr. Ladu, you may introduce yourself.
Thank you, and good morning to you all again. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Ladu John, as already introduced. I am a third-year student at Uganda Christian University Business School and Logistics Management. I happen to work with the Council of African Youth Advocates, which is a continental organization, multidisciplinary, multi-sectoral, that brings youth from different walks of life to advocate and lobby for their inclusion in different governmental and non-governmental policies, programs, and projects. If I can give an example, like tomorrow we shall be having a webinar of the sorts that we shall be discussing governance of the East African youth and East African affairs. Essentially, that is what KAI is all about. I hope I can be giving you more information as we go through with the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ladu, who is actually from South Sudan and serves as the East African Regional Head at KAYA, East Africa. Ms. Mudhoni.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is keeping warm. I have a slight cold that is not COVID, I believe, so we are continuing on. As introduced, my name is Mudhoni Matenge. I work at FUZU, so I'll just give a bit of background about myself. I work primarily with startups. I've been privileged to work in spaces where we are ensuring that we offer internet subscription to members of the community who cannot get the usual big names coming to their neighborhoods. So ensuring that every single person in Africa gets internet provision. But then currently my assignment is at FUZU, ensuring that all employers who come onto the platform are matched to the right candidate. So a bit about FUZU. We are an online platform that has two parts. One is primarily focused on job seekers. We have more than 1.2 million job seekers across East Africa, and we're now venturing into Nigeria. Our main focus here is to ensure that job seekers get as much job content as possible, so both career articles as well as job recommendations, ensuring that you are actually matched to what you want to do in your career. But then secondly, we offer career coaching, where you get a coach that is able to walk you through what it is that you want to do with your life, what are your skills, what are your strengths, where would you actually thrive, instead of just, throwing applications everywhere. And then third, we offer planning content. This is both free and paid. We've gotten a lot of uptake in our free courses because you can do them at your own time and you can get a certificate at the end of it to ensure that you are more valuable to employers. So my assignment, as I said, is working with every employer who comes onto the platform, thinking through what it is that they want to hire for, what would be the right candidate, and looking through to understand what is the company culture, how would this candidate fit in, and how would they also bring value to the candidate, because I truly believe that employment is a two-way street. You get something from the employer, in terms of growth, in terms of upskilling yourself, but also in terms of a salary, and also the employer gets your time, your experience, and your value. Thank you.
It's great to have you today. I can definitely vouch for the platform. It really has great insights, even personality tests, giving strengths and weaknesses professionally. So finally, Mr. Bernardi, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I was having trouble with my video today. These computers, so I don't know where to allow it, so apologies for that. My name is Bernard Odote. I'm a director at House of Procurement and Rentco Africa. Our business is focused on supply chain management, supply chain finance, equipment, machinery financing, dedicated logistics and manufacturing support. We work with organizations both in public and private sector, and we are able to support large organizations. Mostly we do B2B. We are currently focusing on doing SMEs to be able to avail funds for them. Some of the things that we do are in the supermarkets you go into. So some of the trolleys you push are our trolleys. Some vehicles the police use are ours. Some material you consume potentially are ours. So that's how we structure the whole supply chain for the business that we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our panelists for making time this morning, and to all the participants and attendees. Welcome to this morning's dialogue tackling youth and SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. And considering that the theme of our year is youth engagement during this COVID-19 pandemic, so we have been holding a series of virtual webinars, and this is the fourth one, tackling SDG 8. The first one for the year tackled gender equality, and we are glad to have professionals here who can guide us on today's questions. So to those who are on the Zoom call or on live on Facebook, feel free to type in the chat your questions, and we'll definitely ask them at the end. So we'll start with the panel discussion, and first up is the question of, drawing from your professional experience, what do you think the pandemic has changed in terms of work culture and organization operations? I think everyone knows that with staying at home, we've had to go virtual, but really, they say that we will not really go back to normal after this. So what are these likely permanent or advancements that have been brought by the pandemic based on your experience? Mudhoni, I think you'd like to go first. I can see you ready.
Thank you. Earlier this year, FUZU released a report on the future of work. We surveyed over 6,000 both employers as well as employees to get a good understanding of where we are 1 year into the pandemic. I think we released it on the eve of the pandemic, the first corona case, getting to Kenya. And we wanted to understand what will happen once, first of all, how have we moved, how have we progressed a year in, but then secondly, what are we seeing as what will happen this year? So in the last 1 year, we've seen, like you said, a lot more people moving to work from home. This wasn't the case across all industries, because as you would understand, some industries like manufacturing, like education, did not have the privilege to stop everything that they were doing and go work from home. This was also not the case across all professionals, because if you're in manufacturing, again, you cannot manufacture things from your house, right? You can't do it virtually. And so people had to stay at work. But then now moving into this year, we're seeing a lot more organizations going back into the office. But then once you have tasted, and I'm sure a lot of the people here who are professionals, once you have tasted working from home, to be honest, you don't want to go back. You don't want to go back to the traffic. You don't want to go back to seeing other people if you're an introvert like me. And so fewer, or rather more and more organizations are adding the term remote. If you're seeing it in some of the job applications or some of the job postings that we've had, they add this thing called remote, which means you can do this job from anywhere. anywhere in the world. And then second, that means for employers that I no longer necessarily have to work with Kenyans or with Ugandans or with South Sudanese professionals. If I have a job and the salary is attractive to Kenyans, then Kenyans will apply. If I have a job and the salary, or rather the job does not require me to be in Nairobi and I can work from Kilifi on the beach, I will apply, right? And so that has been the case, that more and more employees are looking for roles that are remote, because again, we have tasted what remote looks like. I think the second thing that I will say there as well is that salaries have reduced, unfortunately. More than 50% of employers cut salaries, and that was in the best case scenario. We saw a lot of people being laid off. We saw a lot of people having to take having to be declared redundant. But in the best case scenario, your salary did not change, right? Or your salary was reduced. We're not seeing more reductions in salaries this year, but we're also not seeing people going back to the salaries that they had in the past. I think the last thing that I would like to mention is this digital tsunami, where more than 65% of African employers took to the digital space to ensure that there is more productivity across their organizations, to ensure that there is also more visibility, so that you can trust that when I am working from home, I am not just waking up at 10 a.m. and doing 5 to 3 things and then watching Netflix the rest of the time, right? We are seeing a lot more conversational apps like Slack being taken up to ensure that even as you're working from home, you're able to converse with your employees. We're seeing, again, opportunities like Zoom. We had a webinar and we asked our employers, how many of you used Zoom before 2020? And we only had one person raising their hand, right? We have a lot more in the accounting space. More people are taking up things like Sage to ensure that your accountant does not necessarily need to have boxes of invoices and whatnot. All of this is done virtually. And this is even more the case across the globe. Across the globe, this is actually 90%. And so even as the discussion goes on for the professionals, either on YouTube or on this call, I'd like to hear what you've done in your own organizations.
Well, I think I would answer for SAIMUN. We usually hold a one-week conference at the United Nations Nairobi office physically. So 2020, we held it virtually, and 2021, come July, it shall also be virtual. And even this dialogue, all the dialogues have been virtual. It would have been nice to host all of you physically. Mr. Odeta, you may share from your experience. What do you think the pandemic has changed?
For me, I think the pandemic gave people, and because this is a youth forum, an opportunity to do a lot of self-improvement. Somehow you had a bit of time in your hand, because now there's no traffic going to work and coming back. So you gained some hours that I think for those people who took advantage, improved themselves. I also know there were, of course, salary reduction, but interesting enough, for Kenya, for example, any motorbike you see in the road, 40% of those motorbikes are owned by women, including women who are youth. And that was a way of having passive income. So when salary reduced, and because you could pay, because motorbikes are financed, and since I'm in financing, it's 300 shillings a day that you pay the financier, 300 to 600. And they will earn 1,000 to 2,000 net every day. So if she was earning 100,000 and that went to 50, then all of a sudden she's at 80,000. And if she was financing 3 bikes, she's even earning more than she was earning before. So I look at it as an opportunity for youth to see what impact they can make for the organizations. I always challenge that, what are you bringing to the table? When there's a crisis, that's when there's the opportunity. So for me, for the youth that I interacted with or that sought advice, was more of self-improve yourself, see where the world is going and be impactful. What I can advise now, see how you can generate passive income. And finally, is which industries or functions became important. So I'm a supply chain person, so I'm going to be biased that supply chain became very important. Finance is very important. IT people, all of a sudden, they used just to be an organization of 3,000 people, used to have some 5 IT guys. Now they became all of a sudden very important. Salespeople and how they interact with their customers became important. So when you're as a youth, if you look at it that way, then you say, what solution can I bring here in going to next year? And some of those things can cushion you from a salary cut. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Juliet.
Thank you, Mercy. And I concur with Bernard and I concur with Mudoni. The sentiments are quite in order. I think we all agree that with the pandemic, we had to have a shift in mindset because the normal was interrupted. And it just meant that we've got now to think and think fast, just so that we're able to fit into this space. So on top of what my colleagues have said, I think there was a steep shift, technology. All of a sudden, even organizations that were not probably, looking towards the technological side had to probably now take that angle to be relevant, because again, we all know that this came at a time that no one expected, and it only meant that you had to be fast to ensure that you're still relevant. Otherwise, it only means that if you don't go fast in this, then your relevance is compromised at this point. And that's true because in that we realize that there are so many free courses as young people, and not only young people, even the older generation. We realize there are so many free courses that we've been taking for granted. And as Bernard said, of course, there was time in people's hands, and those who are able to access them have been able to improve themselves. So I think the truth is we've accepted that work doesn't have to be necessarily done in the office. So as long as you can perform, as long as you meet your targets, as long as you have your laptop at home, then that means that work can be done anywhere. Even though on the downside, maybe as I speak for the youth, we must also accept that while we talk of having all that, especially the rural youth were much affected by this. They might not be able to access this as fast, but that one does not mean that they also look at it in a way that it will not be able to develop them. What is it that they've been able to do? Have they been able to get into activities that are keeping them busy in as much as they cannot go technologically at this point? So for me, it has been a shift, and it's a shift that we will have in times to come. And we should just brace ourselves, because even though Mudoni is an introvert, I am an extrovert. And sometimes I hate jam, yes, but I think it will be important just to meet up once in a while, just so that we check on one another. I might not be having credit today, but I could see you. So it's a shift. It's a shift that we've got to take it as it comes, and just appreciate that at this point in time, we are here, and we'll be able to move in no time if we embrace it positively. Thank you.
Great insight. So Mr. Odete does have another meeting and may have to leave the call. So I'll give him a chance to share his insight before he leaves. Mr. Odete.
Thank you very much, Mercy. I think for me, so the question about the future and the youth, for me, it's just self-improve, self-discipline, exceed the targets, always aim for 150%, sacrifice from any distraction. I mean, youth, we face the same things. I'm lucky I joined an organization through a graduate management program and it's probably the easiest way for youth to go through to senior management. But through that journey, I discovered that I could excel. So by the time I was stopping, sort of call it formal employment, I was probably second in command in that department at 27. And for me, it's just commitment to excellence, commitment to what matters, which is numbers, self-improve. LinkedIn has free courses all over the place. Engage people like Mudhoni closely. A lot of people ask me for jobs. I say, have you engaging some recruitment firms? Can they help you on CVs? Can they target for you graduate programs, graduate internship? Be very deliberate in what you're doing and what you want to achieve, and sacrifice everything towards it. So if your ear is telling you go left and what you want to achieve is in the center, stay at the center. This delayed gratification is the best. Thank you very much. And bye.
Mercy, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for making time, Mr. Odete. And now, Ladu, you may share your thoughts on what the pandemic has changed in terms of work.
Thank you so much. Definitely, the pandemic has come with both a positive and negative. It all depends on how you want to see it. You can see the glass half full or see the glass half empty. But I will first have to agree with the other panelists. The pandemic on the upside has provided us with opportunities whereby the youth we have gotten time to really skill and reskill ourselves in all aspects, both in career and all the day-to-day kind of things we are doing. If an example I may give is that of us at Fire, the senior management team got a chance to work with the International Trade Center for free, and they gave us these courses that we kept on doing on different topics and different issues that we kept on doing, and this give you a certificate at the end of the course. In a way, just improving your knowledge, improving your skills, getting better at what you're doing, and so forth and so on. It has also come together, it has brought new careers. We have seen new careers blossoming, we have seen new inventions, we have seen new industries coming to the space that we had not seen before COVID, and that is kind of a positive thing for those that are in those industries, in those careers. And then, of course, on the downside of the glass being half empty, we've seen massive retrenchment and the kind of job losses we have seen, people have lost livelihoods. We have not seen in a long time. And
sorry, we can't hear you well.
We have seen also
Ladu, we can't hear you.
Shift to change in organizational design.
Perhaps you can try. Perhaps you can try getting off video. We see whether that will help.
Ladu, we are unable to hear you clearly. Maybe switch off your video. You see if it will help improve audio.
Okay, I think we've lost him. Sorry.
Okay. I guess they'll be joining us, but at least we were at least able to hear more or less that indeed the main shift has been change of work. Some sectors indeed did scale down, while others have been able to grow, and definitely with more time on people's hands, with commute being removed, definitely there's been more chance for maybe pursuing diverse kinds of work at the same time, or actually undertaking self-improvement courses, whether it's as a student or professional in the meantime. So I think we can go into the second question. as we wait for the others to log in again. Okay, so we at least have Miss Juliet back. Okay, so I'll give them a minute to rejoin. Okay, so the second question would be, we've tackled the shifts. So what new opportunities do you think post the pandemic would be there for youth? Ms. Mudoni, you may go first.
I think, as Bernard said, there are quite a number of opportunities. And one of the things that a friend of mine encouraged me is to take every single opportunity that falls on your lap, right? I think a lot of us weigh opportunities, and if you're an overthinker like me, you think it through for like 2 weeks, and then by the time the 2 weeks are over, the opportunity has already gone, right? So ensuring that you take up every single opportunity that is in front of you. A lot of employers stopped hiring from outside of the organization and started looking inward, meaning that they were looking to upskill the professionals that were already in their organization. And so if you are an intern and you are showing promise in a certain direction, your HR manager or even your department lead would come to you and tell you, we have an opportunity here. It doesn't come with a salary increase, but do you think this is something that you can do, right? And instead of thinking, oh, I'm not getting a salary increase, or what is going to happen, take the opportunity. I cannot stress this enough. There are a lot of opportunities that don't look like the traditional opportunities that probably our parents talk to us about, but those then lead into these new careers that we did not learn in school that are just being formed left, right, and center, right? So that's one. I think the second thing is there is a lot more free time. A recent study showed that Kenyans in Nairobi spend 3 hours in traffic every single day commuting to work. If you're working from home, that time has been given back to you, and now it is up to you, in the full Kenyan spirit of being a hustler, getting a side hustle, right? Ensuring that you're putting those 3 hours to good use, and not just sleeping till 8 a.m., logging into your morning meeting at 8 a.m. and then working till 5, and then again going to Netflix. I think I'm giving Netflix a lot of advertisements today. So ensuring that you are able to grow yourself, you're able to take up another job if you can, given that it's remote and it's paid. There are lots more pay to work opportunities that are now coming up, the likes of Upwork, the likes of GitHub. These are things that you can take good use of. And then the third thing is looking to grow then where you are. I think a lot of us think that the grass is always greener on the other side, but now the other side is not inviting you. They are not asking to hire. So what are you doing where you are? How are you growing within the opportunity that you have currently.
Thank you. Ms. Juliet, what do you think are the opportunities post this pandemic? And maybe as we hopefully get to see recovery of the economy?
Thank you, Marcy. As Mudhoni has put it correctly, and as John said, it depends on how you want to look at this, because we all agree it came in at a time that disruptions were caused and people lost their jobs. But then I know in this season also there's been more innovations actually among the youth. And they're trying to come up with apps, like just to try and solve different problems here and there, because then if an app can be able to work, then it means that these youth can be able to earn their living, and at the same time, the other person on the other side is able to get a service that he or she would wish. So I know for sure this season has been a season that some people have put into very good use, and there's been many, many innovations. And it's been also a season that people have even been with their families. We always want to talk about work all the time, but we forget that the family is where you come from. It is in this season that people have reconnected, and even for youth, considering the definition of youth, up to 35. I know there are people who are already married, there are people who are still at home, but this season has given people opportunity just to reconnect with their families. The jam bit has reduced, so you've got to stay home. And even if you didn't want it, then you've got to, foster these relationships. Yeah, so for me, it's been a season that people have been connecting. It's been a season that people have gotten the side hustles. It's been a season that the innovations have come through. And, at National Youth Council, it's a season that we've also given the young people a chance just to showcase their skills. Last year, we had the Food Services Virus Challenge, and we invited young people just to come and let us know what is it that they can do in as much as the pandemic is here. What is it that they can do just so that a solution towards what we have. And all these activities are usually geared up to the International Youth Day. And even this year, we are having a Food Services Economic Recovery Challenge. And I know many people are listening. It is an opportunity also just to take up and showcase your talents, your innovations, because the government is now focused more on economic recovery. And it means that any activity that will be geared towards economic recovery is something that will be looked at with insight. So we are having that challenge, and it is a challenge to the young people just to come up with, ways that we can go about in economic recovery, because that is what the government is working for. Yeah, so that's it from my side. The developments, we've seen the telecommunication sector more developed as well. And it's been a season that, as Bernard said, they were highly sought, so that they're able to help us with the connectivity, and all that pertains communications. Yes, thank you.
Ladu? You may need to unmute.
Thank you.
Your audio is breaking. Maybe try switching off video.
Marcy, perhaps as Ladu is trying to fix his connection issue, I can give a bit of feedback with regard to what industries and also what professionals are growing and are more sought after.
Yes.
Okay. So as I said in the beginning, we did our Future of Talent report, and one of the things that we were looking at is how has COVID-19 affected the workforce in different industries. And the reason why I bring it up is because this is a key indicator as to what industries are growing, depending on how much more they're hiring or how much more they're cutting their workforce, as well as which industries are not. And so we saw the restaurant and hospitality industry, the supply chain, cutting their workforce a lot more as compared to then the energy sector, the finance sector, the professional services sector. The NGO work still continued, albeit with a bit less funding from donors. But then the industry that really grew were tech, meaning us being called the Silicon Savannah ensures also that we have a lot more jobs in the tech space, more so in Nairobi and our environs. We saw a lot more growth in the e-commerce sector, and so apps that were hailing cabs or hailing motorcycles or hailing deliveries as well really grew. One of our clients, which is Jumia, truly grew their workforce and employed a lot more border riders because there was a lot more demand for delivery services. And so if I was a young person right now, to be honest, what I would be looking into is these industries, meaning tech, e-commerce, finance, and banking, the energy sector, as well as other professional services.
Great. Ladu, I don't know if you'll be able to speak. You may share your thoughts on opportunity pandemic.
I don't know if you're able to hear me.
Yes, now you're clear.
Are you able to hear me? I'm having network issues, really, I don't understand. But as already mentioned, as this pandemic, there are a couple of opportunities that youth can really engage in by ourselves, to reskill ourselves, to of what we don't know and what we know already. I can give an example of Uganda. We are currently in our second lockdown, which is even more biting than the first lockdown. Students are now being given the opportunity. There are different online courses, as Mr. already mentioned. LinkedIn is having courses here and there that people can take the chance and the opportunity to really learn from. Secondly, we can seize this opportunity that has come along with the pandemic to do more productive and innovative and provide innovative solutions to our economies that are still trying to recover. If I can give an example, there's a guy from Ghana, it's called, I think, Ilhan Basin, that has a detector and an alarm that if you don't wash your hand for 20 seconds, the SOPs that the World Health Organization has already put in place. And then lastly, I think as entrepreneurs and as youth, we should be looking forward to be part of the AFCTA as the procession has already started. So as youth, we should really try to learn what the AFCTA is all about, how it can be beneficial to all of us, and really take part in it. That's my points from that end. Thank you, Mercy.
Thank you, Ladu. So the next question to the panel would be, having discussed the shift and the opportunities that are arising, how do youths position themselves at such a time to be able to survive? Because they say we're getting into a gig economy whereby it will be short contractual jobs. So navigating the whole shift from what we were used to and the fact that some industries or some firms may never expand again, to take quite a while. So how do people position themselves to thrive actually in this pandemic? Juliet, you may go first.
Thank you, Mercy. I think from the discussions, it's very clear that as youth, we must now be very flexible. Flexible in the sense that you can be asked to work anytime on anything. And so that one means, as we had said earlier, enrich yourself on how to probably carry out these kinds of jobs. And by being flexible here, I mean, while we say working from home has probably been advantageous, it only means that you can work longer hours. I know people stretch even up to around 8 p.m. I know because of online meetings, because you are expected to perform, you can be asked to do a task even at 9 p.m. And I think this calls for flexibility so much from the youth. Because as we realize, we are the most affected lot in this pandemic here. Most of us are just finishing school and would want to engage, and these jobs are not there. And what do we do then? Enrich yourselves and ensure that you're flexible, as I've said before, because it is in flexibility that you can be able to be, given more work. And of course, you need to perform. You see, unfortunately, the young people would want to take things for granted at some point, but unfortunately, you might not have the chance to do it, because when somebody gives you work, then it means you've got to perform. And as Bernard put it before, you've got to have the self-discipline. And self-discipline here means that you need to know what to do, where to do it, when to do it, how to do it, just so that you can be trusted, because again, it is in what you do that you can be able to get other opportunities. I think another thing that is really key for the youth is our mental health. And for sure, we can be talking about every other thing here, but if you don't take care of your mental health, then you're doomed. And for me, mental health is just ensuring that you accept that this is where we are at this time, but then what can I do? Ensure that you're probably keeping yourself busy, because again, idleness can lead to thoughts and can make you get into vices that you would probably look into later and wonder why. The statistics show that it is in this season that drugs are being consumed so much, and the people consuming the drugs are the youth. And this one just shows that we are either idle or we have not accepted that we are in this situation because some of us were laid off and we cannot be able to get, probably something to do. I mean, when there is no jobs, we've got to try and be entrepreneurs. And that is why I call for flexibility. You will probably ask why I have to talk about, entrepreneurial skills and all. The government has provided affirmative funds, and these affirmative funds are geared towards empowering the youth. And whenever we don't make use of them, then it means that they are taken back to Treasury. They'll be reallocated, And I know we could talk about bureaucracies here and there, but I would also want to know how many people have tried, what have been the bottlenecks, where are you? Just so that we try and help. So it calls for a lot of flexibility. It calls for a lot of getting busy. The people who are able to do business with government, we have AGPO, which is access to government procurement opportunities. 30% of these opportunities have been set aside for youth, women, and people with disability. So we need to take up. There are opportunities and empowerment initiatives that the government has put out there, especially in this season of the pandemic. And we need to, at any given time, just go and just get these opportunities. You see, unfortunately, there are very many opportunities that I've come to learn about, and maybe I would say in this season, which we've not been able to tap into. So as National Youth Council, we also strive to post these opportunities on our social media pages, just so that youth can be able to get them. So you can also subscribe to our social media pages, because then maybe you can see an opportunity there. Mudoni from Fuzu is here. You need to make use of that. And it's more of accepting that this is where we are, and what do we do about our scenario now? Do we sit here and wait and hopefully be in a state that government will come and rescue us? We know very well that it might not be the case. We know that. So for me, it is, let us be flexible. Let us keep busy as youth. Be self-disciplined, because at the end of the day, choices have consequences, and as hard as that may be, it is the truth. So be flexible, take care of your mental health, and keep busy. Yeah.
Amazing. Ms. Mudani, your thoughts on thriving in this pandemic?
Yes, I think I'll move away from the points that I've been giving earlier on in the discussion to talk to the people who are looking for work. We started off by saying that a lot of people were laid off, and that also employers are now not hiring as much as they used to. Our report showed that hiring will probably go back to pre-pandemic levels once, as Kenya, we have at least 40% of the population vaccinated, and that is not in our hands, right? But then I think Ms. Juliet would have a better understanding of what the unemployment rates are right now. I think the last time I checked, it was around 40%, which was perhaps was an understatement, perhaps it was an overstatement, I'm not sure. But even if we put it at 33%, then that shows that 1 out of 3 Kenyans are unemployed. 1 out of 3 Kenyans of working age are unemployed, right? And so if I look at my friends, 1 out of 3 of them is unemployed, which is a very staggering statistic, right? And so the question is, how do you, who is looking for work, or how do you, who has been laid off work, or how do you, who has just graduated and is now looking to get back, or rather to get into work, how do you find this work, or how do you maintain an upkeep? So I think one is to have a good understanding of what the industries and which professionals are being employed at the moment, not just in Kenya. I've talked about remote roles, right? And the truth of the matter is, globally, remote roles are there. I have a friend of mine we used to work together, and he found work in Ireland, working for Amazon. He is working for Amazon remotely, right? And so scouring the market, scouring Fuzu and other online platforms to understand what are the industries that are hiring. Second is, we need to remove ourselves from what I did in school is what I'm going to do for work. The truth of the matter is, very few of us who are in the professional space are actually doing what we did in school. Very, very few of us. I would challenge you to actually talk to people in your space who are working. We aren't doing what we learned in school. And what this is calling for is, as Juliet mentioned, the flexibility. If you get an opportunity, the mentality that you need to have is, I can learn, right? Because there is something called onboarding. And onboarding is, myself as a hiring manager, I literally take you through quote unquote, a course for 2, 3, 4 weeks to teach you how to do this job. And all I am looking for is that you have the attitude and the capacity to learn, right? I don't care what you did. I really don't care what you did. I just care that in this space you can learn and you can give me what I'm looking for. I think the third thing, which will appeal to a lot of us, is in most of these industries, we have done the same thing over and over and over again. And right now, what hiring managers are looking for is someone who can help them do things faster and do things more effectively, right? And we need to not look at it as I am giving a lot to my employer when I create these innovations or when I find a process that works faster. Instead, we need to look at it as my CV. I can now write that I helped this organization move from, so for instance, in my CV, I say that I helped an organization move from a turnover time of solving support tickets by 50%. And so we were taking 48 hours to resolve a client's complaint. We now started taking 24 hours. By the time I was leaving the organization, we started taking 6 hours, right? That is value to the organization, but most importantly, that makes me more employable to a prospective employer, right? Because employers are looking at what value can I bring. I think the last thing that I would say is, I don't know how many of us have an entrepreneurial bone, but I do know that a lot of us have a skill that we can sell, right? And entrepreneurship has stopped being, I have a shop in town, right? It has started being, I have a skill that I can sell to you. And so it's important to think through, what skill do I have? And to be honest, your skill can be that you are a fantastic cleaner, right? I think Juliet and Bernard would attest to the fact that it is very hard, very, very hard to find a fantastic cleaner who you don't have to keep on looking to see, have you done this correctly, right? So it could be that you're a fantastic cleaner. Now, how do you professionalize your service so that I am not just calling up a person that I was recommended to who comes, does a shoddy job, and then leaves? How do you professionalize your service? Do you have you registered yourself as a business, right? Do you have clear terms of service that these are the things that I will do in your house? This is how much each of them charges. This is the final amount. Here is your invoice, right? And personally, I would love someone who comes to my house. I don't have to look behind them to see, have you done it correctly? And I just have to pay a bill at the end of the day and I'm done, right? Let us think about, what skills do we have? How can we professionalize them? And as I've said, there is a lot of content out there, not just on our platform, which is Fuzu, but also on YouTube, right? There's a lot of content out there of people who have gone before you and professionalized their service, have made it a business, are hiring other people, right? And are actually earning good money from it. There are a lot of opportunities, for instance, at Upwork, right? Where you do, Matthew talked about the gig economy, where you do one thing, you're paid for it, you look for another. And that means ideally you have 3, 4, 5 gigs at a go. It's up to you to decide, can I actually handle all of them? Do I have the capacity to do them well, right? And once you professionalize your service and you gain a reputation of, I am doing this and I am doing this well, then you don't even have to invest in marketing. It is simply just that every single person that I clean for will recommend me to one more person, right? And that's how you grow a business. And so I would really, really encourage the 1 out of 3 of us who do not have a job to think through, do I have a skill? How can I better myself at it? How can I professionalize it? And if you don't know where to start, please, please, please reach out to me through Fuzu, and we will help you get there. I think, sorry, the last thing that I wanted to say is, Juliet mentioned about about persons with disabilities. We have also partnered with the National Council of Persons with Disabilities to offer jobs, I think first to talk to employers so that they can do accessibility assessments in their own organizations to see what type of disabilities can they provide access to. And then second, to offer jobs specifically to persons with disabilities. And so when you go to ncpwd.fuzu.com, you'll be able to register with your National Council of Persons with Disabilities card, and then you'll see opportunities that are particularly set aside for persons with disabilities. Juliet mentioned that we have opportunities that we don't tap into. The truth of the matter is, on that platform, we have very few persons with disabilities actually asking for work, registering and applying for work. Yet we have employers who have looked through the hiring portfolio and said, I want these 3 jobs to be persons with disabilities, and I will not hire anyone who's not a person with disability, right? And so that is an opportunity that is there. Again, I'll repeat, ncpwd.fuzu.com. Please go there, register and start applying. I think the other sad thing that I've noted, even when talking with those employers, is PWDs and also people who have stayed out of work for a while are very shy in applying for jobs that are not entry level. In fact, research by the National Council talked about how the higher you go in rank, the fewer persons with disabilities you find, not because the jobs have not been allocated to PWDs, but because PWDs are not applying. And so we need to believe that we have the capacity, that we are bringing in value. And even if we get in at a lower grade, or rather at a lower seniority level, we need to advance ourselves so that we can clinch these opportunities that have already been set aside for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have shared amazing insight, and I actually want to engage you further from what you've talked about on the insight as a recruitment firm. So one would be, you've talked about many people are not doing things they studied. I don't know how easily you can hack that. Okay, you're studying commerce and then now you apply to be a coder, or
Yeah.
you've never handled a camera and now you're going
Yeah.
into communications.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Every time I sit or when we're engaging or concerning unemployment, the question that has a new question that's popping up is that, so 33% are unemployed, but within that 33%, how many are even employable?
Yeah.
So,
I think
from your
2
experience-
things. One, employers are looking for personality fit, and that is why at Fuzu we do personality testing immediately you get onto the platform to see, fine, you did not study sales. The truth of the matter is nobody studied sales. There is no course called selling in campus, right? But every single industry requires salespeople, right? And so what are the skills that are required? That you have a good product knowledge, that you are expressive. You're not like me, who's an introvert. You're expressive and you actually enjoy spending time with people, that you can come up with solutions. But if the client is telling you, I need a laptop and I need a laptop to do my thesis, you're not looking to sell them best in class laptop. You understand that they probably don't have, they're a student, they don't have the money for a best in class laptop, they just need to do their thesis. And so you won't oversell them, you will look at what their pain points are and you will sell them on just that, right? And that fourthly, you are empathetic. And these are all skill sets, or rather these are all personality traits that we all have ingrained in us that make you a better fit for a different role. So that's one. Second is an aptitude test, right? And so what people, or rather what employers are looking for is, what is your problem solving ability? And so we test for critical thinking and logic, right? And these are, I think I've seen a couple of comments on our socials talking about how we are tired of doing this test. But the truth of the matter is, employers don't know you, right? And so they don't have the confidence unless they see a test result giving them a bit more confidence, right? To your question, Marcy, about the fact that you studied banking and now you're in HR. I can tell you for free, I have so many HR friends who studied banking and now they're in HR. I studied communication, I work for a HR firm, right? As I said, when you have those 2 things, that you are a personality fit, that you're a problem solver, you can fit in anywhere. There are very few professionals or other professions that require the skill that you learned in school. I'll talk about medicine, law, and a couple of other things. The rest of them, if you want to get into finance and fintech, the fintech industry is really, really growing in Kenya. If you want to get into finance, there are courses that you can take even after you have fulfilled your degree obligation, right? It's very simple. You just need an interest. You follow some people on YouTube who can guide you, or join Fuzo and get career coaching, and then you'll be guided towards what you need to do. But then there are other careers that require very low risk, or rather, it's a very low barrier of entry, right? Such that all you need to do is apply for the role if you have the personality profile for it, and if you have the right attitude and you can be a problem solver, the people in that industry will work with you to grow you. In 2010, around that time, the banking industry stopped hiring for people who have done banking. They just started hiring for anybody who has a degree, right? We don't care what you did. If you did criminology, if you did archaeology, we don't care. We will teach you what we want you to do, because what we want you to do was not taught to you in school, right? And I don't know whether there's any educator on watching us. And so I will not go into what our education system looks like. But the truth of the matter is you can grow into anything. You talked about coding, and we have kids who are in class 3, grade 3, I think they're called now, who are coding, right? We have schools like Moringa schools and Akira Chicks who are teaching you how to code. We have mentorship programs such as Kamilimu that are working with you to ensure that you can code. And the truth of the matter is, developers, software developers that are of Kenyan origin are the most sought after in Africa. Most sought after in Africa. And you can teach yourself how to code, let alone joining a course. You can teach yourself JavaScript, Python. You can do that for yourself. Just follow someone on YouTube, right? And so it is really, really important that we understand that what we did in school is not a sentence, right? If I have a passion for music, I didn't need to study music. It would be nice if I did. It would be nice if I had parents who allowed me to study music. But guess what? I have a voice and I can sing. And so I'm singing, right? And so what we did in school is not a sentence. I remember when I was graduating from my undergrad, we were given the license. Was it the license? Juliet, if you remember, you tell me. We were given the, I think it was a license. Yes, the powers to read. Meaning that what you have done is just, you've scratched the surface, to be honest. You have scratched the surface. You have now been taught, if you want to read, this is how to go about it, right? Hopefully, if you are paying enough attention, you have learned that personally, if I am in a classroom setting, I learn better, right? And so if I need to teach myself how to code, I know that by myself, I will not have the discipline to do it. I need structure. And so I will go to a course, right? If you learn that just by hearing someone speak, you gain knowledge, right? Then I'll just go on YouTube, right? I don't need to do a course. If you learn that by reading, you gain content, then I will just look for a whole load of books to read. And so you have been given the powers to read. It is now your personal responsibility to read. However it is that makes sense to you, in whatever field that you want to grow in, it is now your personal responsibility. And nobody, there's a powerful TikTok that I like and I keep on seeing my For You page. There's nobody who's coming to tell you apply for that job. There's nobody who's coming to tell you professionalize your skills. There's nobody who's coming. You're lucky to have this type of webinar, but guess what? After 12 p.m., I won't be there to tell you, hi, have you done this, right? There's nobody who's coming. And so we need to take up that personal responsibility that my life is mine. It's no longer my parents. They no longer have as much as say in it. My life is mine, right? And so it is up to me after this to think through my life. What do I want to do? If you have already thought through, fantastic. If you just need a bit of guidance, as I said, reach out to me. But then take the steps to do this.
Great. And maybe the final question I'll ask you is, from all the research you've done, and then Juliet, you can maybe add on to the comments of Mudoni. So what have you seen based on how you've dealt with the workforce? Which are the roles that have been hardest to fit? And then which spaces do you feel people are not tapping enough into?
Okay. So what I'll do is I will go through what are the roles that are being laid off the most and what are the roles that are being hired the most, right? It was a very interesting piece of research, getting to understand what are the roles. So first and foremost, IT software development is being hired the most. Customer care and support is also being hired the most. I've seen so many roles being advertised on the platform. A lot of these roles are also remote. And these are things that you just require product knowledge of. These are industries that, especially customer care, where the employer will really put in a lot of effort in training you, because customer care is not, you can have the skill of talking nicely to people and creating rapport, but it is the employer to guide you step by step on what it is you need to do to solve this problem according to their product or their service. Third is business organization and organizational strategy. So these are people who are able to come up with the strategy that the business is going into. Fourth is finance and accounting. And I think the reason as to why this grew was because of the microfinance industry, where we were seeing a lot of people, like Bernard said, a lot of people now wanting to have a bit of financial assistance in order for them to grow themselves, especially given the pay cuts. And so we, in Kenya, I was looking at statistics according to, I believe it was Bloomberg, where South Africa has only 4 banks. Kenya has 37. And that is not inclusive of all the mobile loan apps that are there, all the microfinance institutions that are there, all the fintech technology that is here, right? And so this is an industry that is really growing in Kenya. I think fifth is sales, because every single employer wants to grow their revenue right now, right? Because 2020 took a big hit on employers' revenues, and so there is a big push to ensure that there are a lot more salespeople, and actually sales grew by 27%, and was the slightest slash. Most employers were not slashing their sales team; they were slashing other teams, but they were not slashing their sales team. And so if I move into what roles are unfortunately being fired, one is admin and clerical, because if you're not in the office, you don't necessarily need an admin person. Second is the general management team. We saw a lot more departments being merged, right? And so instead of me having a team lead for every single sub-department in my department, I would just bulk them all together and let go of the team leads or absorb them into the teams themselves, right? The third thing is HR, unfortunately, because employers were moving to more digital solutions such as Fuzu to hire, and so they did not need as big HR teams as before. And then the last one is legal, and I think I'll just also bulk that into finance, because again, you did not need, if you were taking up a solution such as Sage, for instance, you don't need 3, 4, 5 people in your accounting department. You only need 1, right? Because the solution takes care of everything else. And so I think when it comes to, I'll speak a bit more about tech, because this is a fantastic opportunity, with Kenya being the Silicon Savannah, as I said, with Kenyan developers being the most sought after in Africa. This is an opportunity that you can get into. I remember there was a time on the platform we had 20 dev roles, and it was so hard to fill for those dev roles. We actually, in the HR space, are now starting to find tech recruiters, meaning recruiters who specifically specialize in recruiting for tech roles, because it is so hard to find them. And a lot, as I said, 65% of organizations are going digital. And so this is an industry that is there, that is booming. If you're an introvert like myself who can just stick to a computer for 10, 15, 20 hours in a day, this is something that would be perfect for you. You can learn this online. You can learn this by yourself. Please, please, please look into this.
Thank you so much, Ms. Juliet, your thoughts, and then Ladi, you may join in as we talk about thriving in this pandemic.
Yeah, thank you, Marcy. I think Mudoni has probably tackled it so well. And I know we might now be looking at it like, you know, if we studied these other courses that she's talking about as probably being laid off, and what then for us? And even going back to her initial thoughts, in as much as we were talking about change, being flexible, and even doing something that you've not probably studied, I must say that even whatever you have studied, if you don't take personal initiative to develop yourself, then you remain where you are, you know. And, you know, there are emerging trends every other day and emerging technologies. It is upon you just to go out and just get to know what is there for you and what it is that you can use to develop yourself. So in as much as all this is happening, there is still hope. Just, you know, go in, enrich yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, we have virtual assistants and all, and they'll all be needed. But again, it's not just one skill. They would want somebody who can do 1 to 3 things. And therefore, if you are this person who has more than one skill, then you're better off than somebody who has one skill. So for me, employment is something that we all will want to be in. But the sad truth is that we all can't be in there. So for me, I'll be that person who will still encourage the youth to go into entrepreneurship. As Mudoni put it, it's not cut out for everyone. But why don't you try? Just try and see whether it works out. It might not work out in one area, but that does not mean that you lose hope. Personally, I think I have done so much business. I've tried so much and I've failed so much. But, you know, I've just been telling myself that there has to be something that I can do. There has to be something that I can do. And I keep trying. Anytime I find, you know, an opportunity, I keep trying. And this has always helped me at least to get something on the side. Even though it's not the easiest, let's go out and try out. The apps, the innovations that I was talking about, we are being told about, you know, IT and software development and all that. That is also entrepreneurship in itself. So, I mean, when you go out and you're able to have this app, and I know, you know, as youth, we are inclined into just looking at, but I don't have money, but I don't have the skill. Once you have this thought, you have a startup, there are organizations that are willing to hold your hand, you know, and just help you, you know, bring this idea into fruition. And even the SMEs that come up, there are organizations that are just willing to train and hold your hand, you know, and just become a better person. So it might not be easy as we are saying it here, like, you know, it's just a matter of going out here and getting these people. You've got to go out. You've got to look for these people. You've got to, you know, read wide. You've got to network. And that way, one day you will look back and say, oh, I moved this way and I was able to get this. So in a nutshell, yes, employability in certain areas are there. Certain areas are being scaled down. But at the same time, those people who persist are also able to thrive on entrepreneurship. So let us look at it both ways, because we all know that employment has been scaled down. We would all want to be employed. But as Bernard put it, he's out of employment because that is what he wanted. Some of us might not want to be out of employment probably at this point, or might want to get into employment. Yeah, but we now have just to accept that there are days that and times that this employment is still not there. But then what do we do? I've seen somebody comment, I think it's Eric, that the affirmative funds are inclined to politically correct youth. I would probably want him to just expound. And I know what he means by politically correct. And I would want to say no. Yes, sometimes you might want to look at it that way, but what have you done? How much more have you persisted? How much more have you pressed on just to be sure that, this is for politically correct? And so that if you're put to task, you can be able to, just say. So I think in a nutshell, let's keep trying. You might miss it today, yes, because of 1, 2, 3 things, but have you tried again? Have you looked at ways of fund them? Because maybe EDF is acting up. Have you looked at ways of fund? Have you looked at, other organizations who are willing to, fund startups? And have you been able to make use of the startups? Because we also know that there are youth who access these funds, and the idea behind these funds is that you've got to use it, empower yourself, pay it back so that other youth can also benefit. But we also know that there are youth who've not been able to pay back. And you see, sometimes it makes administration of this fund a bit hard. So I'm just saying that let's keep trying. Let's not just dismiss everything. And I know you've also talked about internet connectivity in the rural areas. The government is trying to come up with empowerment centers, youth empowerment centers in literally every county, just so that we are able to try and connect, even if a few, as we hope that maybe every ward at some point will have a youth empowerment center. So it is something, I know when I'm speaking about a county, that is ridiculous because counties are huge. But you see, at least it's a step towards trying to create connectivity within the country. And let us just tap into the opportunities that we can. And of course, that is taken into consideration. What other things can you do if not with internet? Agriculture has been something that, the youth have shunned away from for some time now, because of course, of the obvious, we would want to have white collar jobs. We've gone to school and all, yeah. But you see, at the end of the day, food security is key. And it's one of the big 4 agendas of Kenya. And the president is really working hard to ensure that this is achieved. So as we move towards probably even connectivity, have you tried agriculture? And in trying agricultural activities, have you been able to probably sell and all? So just as we had said earlier, let us just keep looking for solutions in the scenario we are in at the moment. Yes, thank you, Mercy.
Thank you so much, Mudhoni and Juliet. So Ladu, maybe you could share as we close concerning thriving in this pandemic, and maybe some insight you've seen from the Africa Free Trade Agreement. What are the opportunities opening up in Africa?
All right, thank you. Miss Juliet and Miss Mudhoni have really taken up and have discussed thoroughly what youth can do to thrive in this COVID-19. We have realized that COVID is a situation that we have to keep learning as it comes. It has provided a moment of agility or fragility. Fragility in terms of, as youth, we really need to protect ourselves as the first step. Before we start looking at how we can thrive, we have to be safe. We have to protect ourselves from the virus itself. And then agility, as Juliet already mentioned, we need to be flexible in whatever we do. Because now it is no longer a matter of employability. We have to look into other departments. We have to try and diversify as much as possible. I will have to second Miss Juliet when she talked about entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship is one of the best ways to go.
Of course, you'll try and fail. I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur. I have tried and I have failed as many times as possible, but still you have to keep on trying, because one day X, maybe you'll get that particular opportunity that will work for you. There are incubators now. We have, for example, in Uganda, we have incubators and accelerators that are taking in entrepreneurs with just ideas. You don't need to have a fund. You don't need to have, you just need to have an idea of what you want to do. And these incubators and accelerators can take you in, mentor you throughout the whole process of what you want to do, and, you know, try to bring your idea to life, try to bring your idea to a reality at the end of the day. We have such incubators and accelerators such as Tech Bars, such as Innovative Village. And for those in Uganda, you can really try and get to these people and they will help you at no cost, at really no cost. Thirdly, we have to have a total mindset shift as the youth. We have to understand that at the point where we are now, it's no longer how it was in 2019. So we really need to change our mindset and know that we are here for ourselves. As Mudoni had already said, no one is coming to save us anymore. There is no particular company X or Y that will come and say, I'm looking for this and this and that. We really need to skill ourselves, as I already said. We need to gain as much knowledge as possible. There's that famous saying that always a student, never a master. So at this point, we really need to just keep learning and gain more soft skills. Try to get mentorship from people who have done it before and who can help us to get to where we're trying to get to as youth. And if we try to put all these things into perspective, then I think we shall be able to achieve what we're trying to achieve, and we shall be able to thrive within the pandemic and when the pandemic gets to go, because it surely has to go. To your second question about insights on the African Continental Free Trade Area. The African Continental Free Trade Area, if I may just explain to people who don't know what it is an agreement that has been signed by all the 54 African states, not 55. Eritrea is not yet signed. All the 54 states, and what they're trying to do is to have a single African market with about 1.3 billion customers and a GDP of almost 23 trillion US dollars. And so we have about 36 countries that have ratified. Ratifying means that you have agreed and you are now ready for this agreement to take place within your territories. So in East Africa, I may say all the countries have ratified apart from South Sudan. So that gives us an opportunity as entrepreneurs, as youth, to really engage as much as possible with our neighboring countries. If you have your goods that can move from Kenya to Uganda, from Uganda to South Sudan, then it's all possible right now. So as I already said earlier, it is time for the youth to really try and understand what the AFCTA is, what it will do for them in your particular fields. You might be in cosmetics, you might be in IT, you might be in healthcare. Try to find out what this agreement can do for you, can do for your particular sector. Secondly, the COVID has a bit disrupted the AFCTA because of the border restrictions and the testing that has to be done at border points. For example, right now, Uganda is on lockdown. We really don't have much entry of business people into the country. They're only allowing tourists to move into the country, and only, not domestic tourists, only international tourists. Domestic tourists are not allowed to move around the country because of COVID. So the FCTA is here to give us an opportunity to thrive, as we are. That is the thing we're all trying to do. We're trying to thrive. We should just take as much time as possible to understand what it brings to table for your particular sectors, because it comes and comprises. How do I say this? It provides a chance for each and every sector and discipline in the working space. Thank you.
Amazing. So I think I'll just read a few comments from our participants. So the first one, for those who are asking for the link for Fuzu, you just search fuzu.com. I don't think, do they have to put the www or just fuzu.com is fine? Okay, so fuzu.com is fine. The National Youth Council is quite active on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So do follow their pages. I think I usually do see a hashtag #EcoKaziKE at times, and also advertisement of the different works of your partners. concerning the Africa Free Trade Agreement, and to learn more, you may follow Council of African Youth Advocates, and also you can check out Africa Connect. It's actually a great website. There have been many opportunities from 2020, and even currently there are calls for applications for innovators and different other segments of work for youths, competitions as well ongoing. So definitely something to look into. Concerning, there's also a comment concerning the youth spaces. I want to believe the regional, we may not have reached county level, but I want to believe that youth centers, at least in the former province headquarters. I think I've seen NYC at Embu, Mombasa, Nairobi, Kisumu, Eldoret opening centers. So definitely maybe you may check out to the nearest former provincial headquarters. That's maybe where you can get a center. Yes, definitely also for those, for any persons with disability, FUZU has many opportunities, and there is a call for as many to sign up so as to tap into the different opportunities that are specifically for persons with disabilities. That would be NCP WD, landingfuzu.com.
If they also just search ncpwd.fuzu.com, they'll be able to log in.
Great. So from the comments so far, indeed, it has been an insightful discussion. And being media is quite it's been quite a chance of refocusing also, and just getting that jump start to keep pressing on. You said we'll return to normal, maybe 40% vaccination. So that pretty much means we might be just halfway or a third of the journey. Juliet, what percent are we at?
Are we even at 10%?
Wow.
Even 5%.
1 million doses versus 30 million, almost 30 million adults. I guess we're really quite far. So indeed, it's just a matter of adapting for one to be able to thrive. So I'll give you all a chance to give your closing remarks, and then we may bring this great dialogue to an end. Mudhoni, you may go first.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to come in and speak. I hope that I've been able to reach a wider audience, because we at FUZU are interested in offering opportunities, and so any opportunity that I get to ensure that people have access to the opportunities that we have will be fantastic. I think what I would urge my panelists as well is, in ourselves and in our organizations, we have this information, right? But it doesn't go out, unfortunately, right? We come here and we say there are so many opportunities, and then the person watching us is like, but where am I seeing them, right? Because we, as Kenyans, we have this thing of hoarding information. We have so many free apps on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, where we can share this information, and we can share it step by step, right? Because I think a lot of us, for instance, know we should be investing, but I don't know who am I looking to talk to in order for me to start investing. What is the step by step? And countries such as South Africa have a lot of YouTubers talking about what is the step by step way to own a car on a loan, for instance, right? For us as Kenyans, we hold the information. I don't know why. So if we could assign, I like being very practical, if we could assign one person in our organization who is a fantastic content creator to take advantage of these free apps, Lado in your organization, Juliet in your organization, just one person who can be making step-by-step videos and posting them either on YouTube, which is free, on Instagram, which is free, on Twitter, on TikTok, which are all free, so that people can know, even as they're following us on social media, they can come across content that is practical for them. They can feel empowered to actually take these steps, and that they can actually now feel that they know how to do this, rather than us just saying that there are disappointments. I think the other thing that I would laud SAIMUN for and encourage for there to be more of these dialogues to reach a wider audience, bring in as many panelists as you'd like, so that we can actually share out all the opportunities that we can see in our positions, so that we can pull a lot more people up. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, these dialogues are a series, and actually the next one shall be the SDG health and wellness, tackling mental health, and we do hope to have NYC on board because you are big on mental health. So yes, we do intend to cover all the SDGs in the long run. And yeah, we do look forward to having different panelists, different professionals from government, the civil society, non-profit, business, diverse people who can bring more to the conversation. In absentia, we thank Mr. Bernard Odete, the CEO and founder of House of Procurement, for joining us. He may not be able to give his remarks, but he has typed in the chat box that he is grateful and hopes to connect with more youth. Finally, we can have Juliet and then Ladu, and then we can close.
Thank you, Mercy. And I'd also like just to thank you, SAIMUN, so much just for giving us this platform, just to come and talk, youth and decent, employment or rather livelihood seeking. It's been a session that I've also come to learn a lot of things. And you see, just as Ladu puts it, we're supposed to be always students. And there's always something new to learn every day. So I'm really grateful for this session. I've learned a lot, and I'm carrying out back to NYC just to ensure that youth are empowered. As Mudoni put it, yes, we have this information, and sometimes we might not be having all of it. And so we also request that whenever you have information that you think can be able to help the youth, link up with us, and we are able to put it out there. We try to do this on our social media pages, as Mercy put it. We have 4 at 4. We try to put at least 4 opportunities every day. And whenever an opportunity also comes up, we throw it in there. So look out for our social media pages, subscribe, and take advantage if you qualify. For graduates in Kenya, we have the PSC internship, which you also need to take advantage of. I know it might not be able to take all of us, but it's an opportunity that has come in at a time like this. So please take advantage. For the entrepreneurs who could be in the agricultural sector, there is a program called Youth Enable Program from the Ministry of Agriculture. The other day, the president launched back the 4K clubs. I don't know how many of us remember that. Yes, so the Youth Enable Program is meant to just skill the youth who are interested in agribusiness. And sure, if you're able to probably look into this and probably sign up, you might just be among the few who could be able to get this service. Of course, as NYC, we come up also with the challenges, like I spoke of the Food Services Economic Challenge. If you look at our social media pages, you're able to get all that detail. If you would like to plug in, please do. We'd like to be those people who will be able to say that we empowered youth at some point. Yes, and there's also KYOP. For it trains and for those entrepreneurs who could have business ideas which could be able to employ other people. You could just get a grant from the government. And these are things that unfortunately they are there in websites, and until we look for them. So for me, I would say, let us go out. Mudoni says that we should probably put a step by step. We can do that. But what if you don't go to the website and look for this step by step, way of doing things? So let's go out there. Let's be information seeking. Let's look at things positively. And in the end, I think for me, I always say we can never build a future for our youth, but we can always build our youth for the future. So the future with this pandemic, all that was planned probably is now not going to happen. But what can we do? Can we now be resilient as youth and try to tap into what is presenting itself to us? So thank you so much. I look forward to working with all of you, and feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Juliet, for honoring our invitation, and Ms. Mudhoni. So finally, Ladu, you may share your closing remarks.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you for having us here. I want to thank SAIMUN for this kind of very insightful dialogues. I've also just learned a whole lot of things from this shared dialogue. Being a student myself, I've learned a lot. I will second Ms. Muthoni's point of information. The information is really out there. It is just about us going to look for it. As Juliet has said, we might put the step-by-step information, but maybe if you don't want to get it, you won't get it. So you really step out there. YouTube is there, as my mentor likes to call it, the university of YouTube. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find it there. If you're looking for how to open a door, you'll find someone who's giving you a step-by-step on how to open a door. And also on that very point of information, maybe if I put across, the Council of African Youth Advocates tomorrow will be holding a dialogue, dubbed the East African Dialogue, where we shall be discussing youth in governance, the inclusion of the East African youth, and bringing them to the decision-making table as our topic of discussion tomorrow. We shall have panelists from NYC, we shall have some panelists from Somalia, we have a guy from Tanzania, a lady from Uganda, and myself, I'll be moderating the whole event. So I welcome you all. Maybe Mercy will share the flyers and the links for all of you, maybe to come and learn a thing or two from what we shall be discussing tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm glad that I was on board. I'm glad for the opportunity SAIMUN has given us to learn and also to give out what we have. Yeah, and that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. They may follow the socials, Council of African Youth Advocates, Kaya, and representing Kenya, we'll have one of our youth advisory board members, Ms. Angel Mbuthia. We do look forward to that tomorrow, 3 p.m. East African time, for those who can make it as well. And definitely, indeed, follow FUZU, follow the National Youth Council, follow House of Procurement. And indeed, my takeaway has been that this we are really in the information age, where you can learn anything, work anywhere. So indeed, there's a lot of research and self-positioning. And yes, we can only hope for the best and keep hope alive in this pandemic as we strive to thrive. So at this juncture, I'd like to thank all our participants for joining us, even those who will rewatch later. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us. And we do look forward to seeing you again in the many more future dialogues. Also, finally, as this is the final dialogue for this USG term, Under Secretary General Secretariat term, we will be having the next engagement as our annual conference, which is the annual SAIMUN conference. It shall be taking place from July 22nd. From July 22nd, do go to our website, www.saimun.net. For those who may not have registered yet, it's open to anyone who is in high school or university, as well as independent participants can register as long as you have a national ID or passport. We also welcome international delegates from Africa and around the world. So again, thank you so much to everyone for joining us, and thank you to all our avid followers. Do keep engaging with us. Feel free to inbox us for any further inquiries and partner relations items. So at this time, I think I'll just close the meeting, and indeed do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. To our panelists, thank you so much for making time. We have learned a lot. So much insight today. Okay, indeed.
Thank you, Mercy. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice Saturday. See you tomorrow.
Okay. I will end the call now.